Welcome to Influential People in District 7. I'm County Commissioner Raquel Regalado, and today we have a very special guest that has had a fascinating life in Miami-Dade County and lives in District 7, Bill Talbert. Thank you for joining us,
Good
Bill.
afternoon. I'm glad to be here. I brought you some flowers.
Oh,
When I see
I match
you,
with my flowers.
when I see you, I think of sunshine.
Oh, see, that's Bill Talbert. That's
These
Bill
are
Talbert.
flowers.
That's why we love him.
They're flowers from District 7.
Yes, so wonderful, wonderful. Well, I love sunflowers, so it all works out. So, Bill, now you're the head of the Beacon Council.
Interim-
we'll talk about
interim
president of the
CEO,
Beacon
yeah.
Council. But you were at the Greater Miami Visitors
Convention
and
and
Convention
Visitors Bureau for 32 years.
32 years, and you were a county employee before that.
Well, I was with Women's International Tennis for 5 years. We're global headquarters here in Miami
Fascinating.
in District 7.
Fascinating. So let's talk
And
a little
then,
bit.
and then with the county for 16 years. But I've been in this community for 52 years. Started in 1970 as a park planner in Metro-Dade County.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, let's go back a little bit because there's so many things that we have to talk about, especially now that we're having, you go from bringing people to Miami to bringing businesses to Miami. I think that's a very interesting
Well,
transition.
may I correct you?
Yes.
Because and it's not the first time I've heard this. At the Greater Miami Convention Visitors, about bringing tourists here, but it was also about bringing meetings, conventions, and
True,
conferences.
events.
So that was an equal side of the ledger. There was tourism, but meetings and a new convention center, a great new hotel. So that's how that operation is similar to what we're doing at the Beacon Council now, because meetings, conventions, and conferences in hotels, in convention centers, and the night center, for instance, that's an important part of what the Greater Miami Convention Visitors. I hate to interrupt my favorite commissioner.
Not at all. Not at all. So Miami-Dade County has had a love-hate relationship with tourism, right? So I think, there's certain parts of the county where you see that more than others. For example, in Miami Beach, we've talked about this before privately. There's this like pendulum, like we want them, we don't want them, we want them, we don't want them. In District 7, Coconut Grove, Coconut Grove was, but Coconut Grove was like the center of Miami tourism for a time. And then they decided to stop serving liquor. It really changed. Now it's more of a business district. I remember when Coconut Grove was the place, to be. It was the South Beach,
It was before there was a South.
Before there was a South Beach, there was Coconut Grove.
And it's coming back.
It is coming back.
In some of the Michelin restaurants that were just announced, in Coconut Grove.
In the Grove, we're very proud. We're very proud. Actually, I think all of them. Well, I think there's one in the beach. But if they're not in the beach, they're in District 7. So between Coconut Grove, and Coral Gables, we got you covered when it comes to food. But I wanted to talk to you about, how our ideas about tourism have changed, right? Because I think, I think it has changed a little over time. And I think if you live in Miami, you're okay with tourists and you understand how important tourists are to our economy. But, the rebranding of Miami and this idea of people that have lived here their entire lives and they want to raise their kids here. How do you navigate those two things?
Well, we at the Bureau, we had a phrase, tourism is everybody's business.
Agree.
So in every single zip code, there's somebody who works in some of tourism. It's everybody's, whether it's the airport, the seaport, restaurants, and every industry is supported by tourism. And in fact, tourists pay a third of the sales tax, a third of the gas tax. So tourists support a lot of the operations, and taxes are lower because of tourists. And also now, as a great global luxury destination, it's tourism every month.
Right. We used to have like a high and a low. Like when you started Miami Spice, that was because there was like a lull
in August and September. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no longer a lull there.
No,
we want to keep Miami Spice, right?
But it's back August 1st, right? August 1st.
We still love it, but we have tourists now.
Yeah,
year
but
round.
Tourists are paying, and none of us have done a good job to show what the tourists are contributing to our community. But we all have neighbors that are in the industry. All over town. So I think there's been more of an appreciation as Greater Miami has become more global in its understanding that tourism is good for our community. It's more than a beach. It's not a beach. It's art and culture. That's a big part.
It's events that locals get to participate on.
Big event town. And thank you for Miami-Dade County supporting many of those with the Tourist Development Council that you that you oversee. But I think there's more of an appreciation. And by the way, as the entire world comes here, they understand the value of tourism.
And after the pandemic, a lot of them stayed here. So we
Wow.
got a lot of staycations, and people they couldn't leave the continental United States. So
Yeah,
they came to visit and they stayed.
Yeah,
and that's part of the phenomenon.
Once you get sand in your shoes here, you just don't go back. I've been here 52 years, but I think the love-hate is gone now, because there's an appreciation as the community has spread out and grown. New neighborhoods, whether it's Doral, Midtown, Wynwood, and different. It's not a zero-sum game, but as new areas emerge, it shows the beauty of the diversity of this community in the opportunity. Yes, there's great downtowns. Yes, there's Coconut Grove and Coral Gables. But for the visitor, Miami is the only place in the U.S. with 2 national parks.
Right.
2 national parks, largest concentration of boutique hotels in the world, a downtown, essentially a downtown airport, Miami National Airport, if you go, and the cruise capital of the world. You own that phrase now.
Yes.
And you've got private money invested in these terminals now, with the tunnel,
Right.
public-private partnership.
Right.
That without that tunnel, on time and on budget, the development everybody sees at the
and the dredge was huge too.
the deep dredge, so Panamax ships can come here. We were just with CSX, the railroad folks, who are looking to expand their operation here, and I talked about Port Miami, which is a county operation. The success of cargo is about getting them on the road, getting them on rail, and they show how quickly cargo can get to the rest of the country from Miami.
Right. And we're working on that in the airport too. In the airport, we have, the VIC, which is obviously the vertical cargo integration system, but we also
talk
doing
a
one
little
with
bit about
FEX.
that's brand new. People don't know what it is.
Who's interviewing who, Bill?
Every time somebody mentions it, it's the only one in the country.
Yes, it's going to be the first. It's going to be the first in this continent. Because the other example of it, is all the way around the world.
Like
so this
vertical.
is vertical. It's a vertical integration for cargo. And we're actually working on 3 projects. That's one of them. The other one is with FBC, speaking of the railroad, and then there's another one that's an expansion of an existing cargo facility. We already expanded 2 more, but, I really, think that the county needs to focus on cargo when we look at MIA, and we're very excited about that. And I'm blessed that the county commission has supported that. But speaking of rail, so in this show, folks, we try to talk about things that you would not normally hear the interviews talk about. Bill Talbert worked on the railroad. I kid you not. Bill?
I did when I was in college, University of Florida. During the summers and some winters, I worked on the Santa Fe Railroad out of Chicago.
That's
And
fascinating. What did you do on the railroad?
We did everything. We were in the yard. We were switchmen. We were brakemen. We were baggage.
Sounds like a Netflix special.
Well, it's actually interesting because the way it was paid then, if you worked 8 hours, you got a day's pay. And if you were a 40-year veteran and new, you got the same rate.
Pay, right.
Yeah. And so it was one of the best things I ever did. And particularly during the winter, it made me understand that the value of the library in college was a lot. But it was a good learning experience. And just today, we were with the CSX folks, and I had my old lantern and my own watch, and we talked the railroad, ATSF, Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe. But, those are all the licenses. And actually, if you then morph over into the county, I was involved in the funding and then the construction of Metro Rail, which is heavy rail. It's a rail.
Yes, it's a rail.
It's a railroad. So I know a lot about steel, and I know a lot about concrete, and I know a lot about neighborhoods.
That's fascinating. I love.
How did you find out about that?
Because I went on a trip with you, and I was asking you a bunch of questions.
Yeah, there you go. But
you were deep diving into Bill Talbert's life.
Yeah, but yes. That's if you say
Bill Talbert also had a mohawk. We'll continue.
People don't know what a mohawk.
They know. Google it. If you do not know what a mohawk is, you need to Google that immediately. You would be surprised. Mohawks and mullets are making a comeback. We were actually at the FTX big reveal. Yeah. There was several mullets. I was very confused by them. I hadn't seen that many mullets in a very long time.
Well, see, all of this helps me in my current job at the Beacon Council.
Great transition, Bill. Great transition.
Because having been with government, and then with a global company, Women's International Tennis was private. You had to raise money, and it was global. Women's tennis, it was Chris Everett and Martina Navratilova had tournaments every week around. There was a Players Association. So that helped to run a small company. You know about making a payroll.
Right.
You know those things about making a payroll? And then that
turning the
morphed
lights on and off,
into the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau and the evolution of this great community, the word Miami, but Greater Miami, and the great, the things that are here in the vision of having Greater Miami and Miami be a top global destination in the world today. And when we first had that vision, people said, "Are you nuts?"
Well, this was a very sleepy town.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people I was born and raised here. It was a very sleepy town. So, if you put it in context of when people were saying it, it was kind of crazy because the positioning was good, but the infrastructure was just not there.
Well, there was
the population was not there.
There was a lack of investment in the hotels. The hotel owners just took the money out. They didn't reinvest in. So there was there were not new hotels. There were not new attractions. There were not new gates at the airport, and so it was living in another time. So we said, no, we're gonna change that. So very slowly we worked on Miami, Greater Miami, as a top tier, in some cases, luxury destination in the world. And one of the first things that happened that we were able to say, that's it, was Art Basel.
Right.
When Art Basel came 20 some years ago, they came from Basel, Switzerland. They just had their show just now. And this Miami Beach, the Miami show is the most profitable of their three shows.
And it's everywhere. I mean, it started in the beach, but now, there isn't,
It's called, I call it the Basel Halo.
Yeah.
And the halo is, the show is at the Miami Beach Convention Center, also designed Miami. There's like 35, 40, 50 shows all over the community. That's what I call the halo. And it's in every and almost every hotel has an art exhibit. And one of the wonderful things about Art Basel, having been involved in a team, part of a team, we didn't lead it, that brought that show here, was they originally wanted to be in January or February. Well, I mean, we're kind of busy then. And so we talked to them about, how about in December?
Right.
How about in December? There's a little more availability. And we did it. And lo and behold,
it's worked out. They
went in December, and then they brought Art Miami with them. And so now the first week in December is one of the best weeks of the year that we have. And so, but all of these things, you saw a World Cup announcement last week for what the Beacon Council does to get businesses to come here, to start here, to expand here. Everybody wants to be in places where things are happening.
Well, back to the Beacon. Mike Finney was a friend. He passed away suddenly.
I took this job because of Mike Finney. Yeah. When they called me, I said instantly, I did it for Mike Finney because he'd have done it for me.
And he started great work at the Beacon.
Oh, it was wonderful.
We had moved from, one community, one goal to Opportunity Miami. If you could talk to us a little bit about what that means. Obviously I'm the county commissioner assigned to the Beacon. So, and I was not a fan of the Beacon, under one community, one goal.
I remember
but
that.
I'm a big fan of Opportunity
some
Miami.
Some of it's is new leadership. Yeah. New leadership always helps. Rebranding.
Yeah.
We've been involved in all this, but
but I think Finney did a great job, and Matt Hagman is doing one too. Yes. And the question is, for the folks who are listening that have heard of the Beacon, in the past, what does the Beacon mean now? And I think the fact that we started Opportunity Miami, and it was launched, and now we're having this conversation about where are the employees? Like, that's like the number one conversation. I mean, this is exactly what we were talking about, years ago. Like, hey, let's focus on workforce development.
The Beacon is involved in the workforce. You just launched a new workforce. And we were at that press conference. Yes. Not only workforce, but that's an important thing. And that's going to happen. You're investing dollars, county dollars. All the cities are getting involved in Miami Beach now. When they do developments, they require some workforce housing. And that's an important thing. And so that's going to happen. But workforce is an issue around the world.
Right.
Great communities, and we're now a great community. The great communities deal with these, and you're dealing with them now. And you'll work it out and you'll do it. But here's the thing. Now, when people talk about a business coming down here or well, let's say you're younger, you new tech person, and new companies are opening here in Miami, and they're flocking here. They're flocking here, and they'll find places. You talk them on the street in District 7. Just talk to the young folks, what they're doing. And many of them are in those industries. What do you like? I'm here because there's a future. There's an opportunity here. I'm going to start a family. Yes, there are challenges, but in the past, we didn't even get those options. Now, as one of the top places in the world to vacation, to live, work, play, start a business, and all of these things starting to come together, and a focus in on things, whether it's a smart plan or workforce housing and all of that. You're dealing with those issues. In the past, there was no focus in on those. It was kind of an unguided missile. But having been here for 52 years, and now at the Beacon Council, talking to the prospects, and just an announcement just today about a prospect that's announced. I think their board is meeting now. They're moving their entire operation out of Chicago, here. And when Beacon was working with them, it was going to be a smaller operation, and they're now deciding today we're bringing the whole operation to Miami. And that's about, at the end of the day, we haven't mentioned the J word. It's all about jobs.
Right?
Jobs.
And that's what I was going to ask you. I was asking about the jobs and the pillars, right? Because I think that's another component of the Beacon that people don't understand. It's not just about bringing random businesses. There is a plan,
well,
right?
Yeah,
and it has specific pillars, and the idea is to build on certain industries. And
look at aviation, for instance.
Yeah,
the top companies that maintain and have parts for aircraft are located here. The top training places are here. People don't know that, but the Beacon Council works with those industries and then puts its arm around them and shows them love and gets a critical mass, has a committee that worked with them, and the new kids come in and they feel like the family. So whether it's tech, banking, financial services.
Salmon.
Have you been
salmon
there?
farming.
Have you been there? Yeah. Well,
it's on my list. It's on my list.
Took the group, the Beacon, took a tour there last week, but that's the largest in the world.
In the world, yes. It's amazing.
World. So I can't wait to go down, and apparently they're being sold in local.
Yes, they are.
What we want to do is have tours of that facility, but they're here. Who would think that a big salmon factory would open up in
Miami-dade?
But also, that's another, I'm glad you brought that up, because in working with the Beacon staff, what I see is a place that has available land. And you don't think about it, but there's land all over this town, and it's not repurposing. Some is vacant, some is repurposed.
There's some areas that are underdeveloped. That's
and
a reality.
So for the world, and what's projected by the Beacon Council staff is, we got a lot of land for you. It's not this tight little place, and there's Eastward Ho and you go up, but that's what I see, available land, which is available options. The world wants options. They don't want to be locked in on something. What do you want to do? Where do you want to be? What to make up? So that's the strength of the Beacon Council, knows our assets as they develop.
Lastly, one of the things that really changed, the conversation here in Miami-Dade County is Miami-Dade County as a gateway to Latin America. Now it's not just a gateway to Latin America, right? Miami International Airport has grown, to a point where it's the largest international airport in the United States, period. What can you tell us about international companies coming here?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you were on our trip.
Yes,
to Spain. In Madrid, and also Vigo, which is Galicia. And we were the large collective group, and I hope you shared, the interest was just extraordinary. You said, after the pandemic, we're going to get out and we'll go face to face. And they know a lot about us, and they're very interested in coming here. And Spain is one of the top markets for the Beacon Council, top markets. And we saw people who are ready to be here. And I think the number was almost 100 of prospects that are, and the staff is following up. You saw a college that wants to open their global headquarters here. So it's all good. But our question was, getting out on the road, have we disconnected from the markets? No. People know about Miami. They're thankful that we're back They're thankful that we're working with them, and they want to come. The world loves Miami, and the further away you get, and it's for business. It's a place to live, work, play, open a business, start a business, expand a business, start a family. And we just saw a group that last Friday I was at a groundbreaking in downtown Miami. It's a little piece of land, 6th and First, and it's due west of the Freedom Tower and Bayside. And this is a $400 investment by Turkish companies. It's the largest investment by Turkish companies in the United States today. It's a 70-story building. It's basically nowhere. But that's the faith that people have in coming here. And I think that the gentleman first came here and visited vacation and bought a home and then looked around.
Liked it and said, I'll start a business
Looked
here
around
too.
and said, what the heck, we're going to do it. And so, but that's how. Now, I will also say, and you're a great commissioner, it's also ours to lose. So we at the Beacon Council take nothing for granted. The competition is extraordinary. But the assets, what the community is doing together, we were with a group a week ago, another group that is getting close. But their takeaway, and this was my first experience with that kind of one of these confidential groups,
Right, yes.
the confidential. Mm-hmm. And so their takeaway is, we're so impressed with how everybody is working together. And so, yeah, but there's more collaboration than there ever was here. There's less silo. The education components coming together. The business community is coming together. And I think, frankly, the new businesses that come help energize us too.
They create an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
they support each other.
Yeah. But it's ours to lose. But the signs are great. There are incentives, and thank you, but at all levels. But it's a lot of stuff today you see is totally privately invested.
Right.
Totally private. This $400 million private. If you see the headquarter hotel on the beach, 800 rooms, privately invested. It's never happened in the history of the world. It's happening in Miami. It's a special place.
Well, thank you, Bill. And thank you for being an amazing resident of District 7. So for those of you,
I ain't leaving either.
I know he's not going. We're not letting you go. So this is Bill Talbert, now at the Beacon Council, was at the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau for many years, and an amazing resident of District 7. Thank you again for the flowers, and a big hug to your lovely wife.
And invite me back.
Definitely.
Is that a promise? That's a promise?
It's a promise. We'll do it again.
But you're doing a great job, and say hello to your father.
I will. Bill Talbert, folks. Thank you for joining us.